Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning, not feeling overwhelmed by everything you have to do, but feeling focused and calm because you realize you don't have to tackle it all at once. You only need to do one thing: get 1% better. It sounds small, right? But that's where the real power lies. It's not about making massive changes overnight or setting impossible goals. It's about small, consistent improvements that compound over time, transforming your life in ways you never imagined. Think about it. If you improve by just 1% every day, by the end of the year, you'll be over 30% better in your work, relationships, and health. It's not magic. It's the power of consistency. Most people chase big, instant results, but true lasting growth comes from steady daily progress. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how you can apply this simple but powerful principle to your life. How small daily improvements can reshape your habits, mindset, and future. Stay with me for the next few minutes as I break down the steps to unlock the incredible power of getting just 1% better every day. Let's dive in. Number 1, start small. Think big. Most people get overwhelmed when they think about transforming their lives. They look at the big goals, the dream job, the perfect health, the thriving business, and they freeze. It feels like standing at the base of a massive mountain, staring up at the peak, wondering how in the world you'll ever get there. And that's the problem. We get so caught up in the big picture that we forget where every journey starts with one small step. Here's the truth. It's not the giant leaps that change your life. It's the small, consistent steps you take every single day. You don't have to figure it all out today. You don't need to conquer the mountain in one go. All you have to do is take that first step, no matter how small it seems. Starting small isn't a sign of weakness. It's a strategy. It's how you build momentum, create habits, and move towards something greater. You're laying a foundation, brick by brick, that will hold everything together. Let me ask you something. Have you ever had a dream so big that it scared you? Maybe you wanted to start a business, write a book, or get in the best shape of your life. But when you thought about how far you had to go, you felt stuck. You didn't know where to start, so you didn't start at all. You're not alone. Most people feel this way. But here's the secret. You don't have to know every step. You just need to know the next step. If you improved by just 1% every day, where would you be a year from now? Most people think 1% is nothing. It feels too small to matter. But small improvements don't just add up. They multiply. Over time, that 1% compounds into something extraordinary. Imagine being 37 times better at the end of the year, just by committing to small daily changes. That's the power of starting small. But what does 1% better look like? It's not about climbing Everest on day one. It's about simple, achievable actions. Read one page of a book, take a 10-minute walk, save a single dollar. These aren't dramatic gestures, but when done consistently, they create a ripple effect that touches every area of your life. Small steps build confidence. They create habits. They show you that progress is possible. I once met someone drowning in debt. They wanted to be financially free, but the goal felt so overwhelming that they didn't know where to begin. I told them, start by saving just $1 a day. They laughed. What's a dollar going to do? But they did it anyway. That $1 became 2, then 5, then 10. Over time, they built the habit of saving. They tackled their debt, one payment at a time. A few years later, they were debt-free with money in the bank. It didn't happen overnight, but it all started with that first dollar. Starting small also helps you overcome fear. The fear of failure, the fear of not knowing how, the fear of looking foolish. But when you start small, it's manageable. It's something you can do today. You don't need to run a marathon on day one, just lace up your shoes and walk around the block. You don't need to master a new skill overnight. Spend 5 minutes watching a tutorial. Starting small gives you permission to begin, and that's often the hardest part. But while starting small is essential, thinking big is just as important. Those small steps need a bigger vision to guide them. You need to know where you're going, what you're working toward, and why it matters. Without a vision, those small steps can feel meaningless. So ask yourself, what does your ideal life look like in 5 years? Picture it. Feel it. The clearer your vision, the more motivated you'll be to take those daily steps. I knew a man who wanted to start a business. He didn't have much, just an idea and determination. He didn't try to build an empire overnight. He He started with one product, one customer. Every day he made small improvements. Better service, better marketing, better systems. Today that business is thriving, but it all started with one small step and a big vision. So here's my challenge to you. What's one small step you can take today? Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Maybe it's writing down a goal, making a phone call you've been putting off, taking a walk, reading a single page. Whatever it is, do it. Then do it again tomorrow. One step at a time, one day at a time. That's how you transform your life. Start small, think big, and never stop moving forward. You've got this. Number 2, 1% as a daily decision. Every single day, you're presented with a choice. When you wake up in the morning, you get to decide how you'll show up in the world. You choose whether you'll take steps toward your goals or stay exactly where you are. You choose whether today will be just another day or the day you move 1% closer to the life you want. The beauty of it is this: you hold the pen to your story, and the decision to improve by just 1% every day is one of the most powerful choices you can make. Now, I know what you might be thinking. 1%, that's barely anything. How's that supposed to change my life? But here's the secret. It's not about what happens in just one day. It's about what happens over time. That 1% might seem small in the moment, but when you stack it day after day, week after week, month after month, it becomes extraordinary. It's like compounding interest. At first, the gains are almost invisible, but over time they grow, they build, and eventually they transform everything. The reason this idea is so powerful is because it's manageable. You don't have to wake up tomorrow and overhaul your entire life. You don't need to make massive changes or set impossible goals. All you need to do is wake up tomorrow and make one small decision to be better than you were today. That's it. One choice, one step. And the beauty of it, anyone can do this. No matter where you're starting from, no matter your circumstances, you can make this choice. Let's break it down even further, because I want you to really feel how achievable this is. Improving by 1% doesn't mean you have to reinvent the wheel every day. It could be something as simple as taking 5 extra minutes to read a book that inspires you. It could be drinking an extra glass of water to take care of your health. It could be reaching out to someone you care about and telling them how much they mean to you. These are small actions, but they create momentum. They build a habit of growth. I remember talking to a man once who was struggling in every area of his life. His finances were a mess, his health was deteriorating, and he felt stuck in his career. He said to me, "I don't even know where to start. Everything feels overwhelming." And I told him, don't try to fix everything at once. Start with one thing. Pick one area of your life and decide to get 1% better at it today. Just 1%. He chose to start with his health. But he didn't sign up for a fancy gym or go on some extreme diet. He simply decided to take a 10-minute walk every morning. That's it. 10 minutes. But here's what happened. After a week, those 10 minutes turned into 15, then 20, then 30. He started feeling more energized. So he began making healthier food choices. That extra energy spilled over into his work, and he started tackling projects with more focus and enthusiasm. Before long, he was improving in every area of his life, and it all started with that simple decision to improve by 1%. The key here isn't perfection, it's consistency. It's not about doing something flawlessly every day. It's about showing up and doing it consistently. Most people quit too soon. They try something for a week, maybe 2, and when they don't see big results right away, they give up. But the real magic happens when you stick with it. That's when those small improvements begin to compound. That's when you start to see the bigger picture come together. But let's take this even further. Improving by 1% every day isn't just about actions. It's a mindset. It's a way of thinking. It's about looking at every situation and asking yourself, how can I do this just a little bit better? It's not about being perfect. It's not about being the best. It's about being better than you were yesterday. That's it. Better than yesterday. And this mindset doesn't just apply to the big things in life. It works in the small everyday moments too. Let's say you're having a conversation with someone. How can you be 1% more present? How can you listen just a little more intently? Or maybe you're working on a project. How can you give it just a little more effort or focus? These small shifts may not seem like much in the moment, but over time they create a ripple effect that can transform your life. Now, I know life isn't always easy. There will be days when you feel tired, discouraged, or even defeated. That's normal. That's part of being human. But here's what I want you to remember. Even on those days, you can still make the choice to get 1% better. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be flashy. It just has to be something. Because every small action you take moves you closer to the person you want to become. I want you to imagine this for a moment. Picture yourself a year from now. If you committed to improving by just 1% every day, where would you be? What would your life look like? What kind of person would you have become? That's the power of this idea. It's not about what you do today. It's about what those small daily actions create over time. It's about the life you build, one choice at a time. So what's the takeaway here? The takeaway is that you have the power to change your life, not by making some massive, overwhelming change, but by making small, deliberate choices every day. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to start. Start today. Start where you are. Start with what you have. And commit to getting 1% better every day. Remember, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and every step you take, no matter how small, is a step toward the life you deserve. So take that step, make that choice, and watch as your life transforms, one day at a time. You've got this. I believe in you. Number 3, habits. The foundation of success. Have you ever stopped to think about how much of your life is built on habits? I'm talking about the things you do without even thinking. The routines, the patterns, the little actions you repeat day in and day out. They're so automatic that you probably don't even notice them. But here's the truth. Habits are the foundation of success. They shape your days, and eventually, they shape your entire life. Most people think success is about big, dramatic moments, the grand achievements, the trophies on the shelf. But that's not where success is built. Success is built in the small, quiet moments. It's built in the choices you make every single day. And most of those choices are driven by your habits. If you want to change your life, if you want to achieve something extraordinary, you don't start with the big things. You start by building better habits. Let's talk about what a habit really is. At its core, a habit is simply a behavior that you repeat over and over until it becomes automatic. It's like putting yourself on autopilot. And here's the thing about autopilot. It can work for you, or it can work against you depending on the habits you've created. If you've built good habits, they'll move you closer to your goals. But if you've built bad habits, they'll take you further away from where you want to be. The good news, habits aren't set in stone. You can change them. You can create new ones. You can replace the ones that aren't serving you. It takes time, it takes effort, and it takes consistency. But it's absolutely possible. And when you do, the impact is incredible. Because habits compound over time. The small actions you take every day add up. They build momentum, and eventually, they create a life that reflects those choices. So how do you do it? How do you build habits that lead to success? It starts with clarity. You need to get crystal clear on what you want. What's your vision? What's your goal? What kind of life are you trying to create? If you don't know where you're going, it's hard to figure out how to get there. So take a moment to think about it. What's important to you? What do you want to achieve? What kind of person do you want to become? Once you're clear on your vision, the next step is to break it down. You don't climb a mountain in one giant leap. You take it one step at a time. It's the same with your habits. Start small. Pick one habit that will move you closer to your goal. Maybe it's waking up 30 minutes earlier to work on a project. Maybe it's reading 10 pages of a book every day. Maybe it's committing to exercise for 15 minutes. Whatever it is, make it small, make it manageable, and make it something you can do consistently. Now, let me tell you something about consistency. This is where most people get it wrong. They think it's about being perfect. They think if they miss a day or make a mistake, they've failed. But that's not true. Consistency isn't about perfection. It's about showing up. It's about doing the best you can with what you have, day after day. And when you miss a day, which you will, because you're human, you don't beat yourself up. You just get back on track. That's what matters. Another key to building strong habits is to make them easy. The easier a habit is, the more likely you are to stick with it. So if you want to start exercising, don't tell yourself you're going to run 5 miles every morning if you've never run a mile in your life. Start with a 5-minute walk. If you want to eat healthier, don't try to overhaul your entire diet overnight. Start by adding one healthy meal or snack to your day. Keep it simple. Keep it achievable. And as you build momentum, you can build on those habits. Here's a little trick that works wonders. Tie your new habit to something you're already doing. For example, if you want to start journaling, do it right after you brush your teeth in the morning. If you want to practice gratitude, do it while you're having your morning coffee. By connecting your new habit to an existing one, you make it easier to remember and integrate into your routine. Now let's talk about the other side of the coin. Breaking bad habits. Because let's face it, we all have them. The habits that hold us back, that drain our energy, that keep us stuck. And just like building good habits, breaking bad ones starts with awareness. You have to recognize them. You have to be honest with yourself about what's not working. And then you have to make a decision to change. One of the best ways to break a bad habit is to make it harder to do. If you're trying to spend less time on your phone, put it in another room when you're working. If you're trying to cut back on junk food, don't keep it in the house. Remove the temptation. Create an environment that supports your goals, not one that works against them. I also want to say this: be patient with yourself. Habits take time to build, and they take time to break. It's a process. It's a journey. And there will be days when it feels hard. But remember this: every small step you take matters. Every time you make a better choice, you're reinforcing the habit. You're rewiring your brain. And over time, those small steps lead to big changes. Why does all of this matter? Why are habits so important? Because they're the foundation of your life. They determine how you spend your time, how you use your energy, and ultimately who you become. And the beautiful thing about habits is that they give you control. They put you in the driver's seat. They allow you to design a life that reflects your values, your goals, and your potential. Think about this for a moment. If you commit to just one new habit, something small but meaningful, and you stick with it for a year, how much could that change your life? And what if you did that every year? Imagine the person you could become. Imagine the life you could create. So here's my challenge to you. Start today. Pick one habit, one small, manageable habit that will move you closer to your goals. Commit to it. Be consistent and watch as it grows, as it compounds, as it transforms your life. Because when you build habits that lead to success, you're not just changing your days, you're changing your future, and that's a future worth working for. Number 4, the ripple effect of small wins. Let me ask you something. How often do you pause to acknowledge your small wins? I'm not talking about the big milestones or the major breakthroughs. I'm talking about the little victories, the ones that seem so minor, you barely notice them. Maybe it's getting up early when you didn't feel like it. Maybe it's sticking to your workout plan for the day. Or maybe it's simply making that phone call you've been putting off. You see, most people overlook these small wins because they're so focused on the big picture. They think if it's not a huge success, it's not worth celebrating. But let me tell you something. Those small wins, they're the foundation of everything. Success doesn't come from one giant leap. It doesn't happen overnight. It's not about some magical moment where everything suddenly falls into place. Success is built step by step, through small, consistent actions. And every small win along the way matters more than you realize. Every time you take a step in the right direction, no matter how small, you're creating momentum. You're proving to yourself that you can do it. You're building confidence. And most importantly, you're creating a habit of winning. Here's the thing about small wins. They have a way of compounding over time. It's like rolling a snowball down a hill. At first it's small, almost insignificant. But as it keeps rolling, it picks up more snow, it gets bigger, and eventually it becomes unstoppable. That's the power of small wins. They may seem tiny in the moment, but over time they build on each other, and before you know it, they lead to something extraordinary. Let me give you an example. Let's say you have a big goal, something that feels overwhelming, like running a marathon, starting a business, or writing a book. When you look at the whole thing, it's easy to feel intimidated. You think, how am I ever going to do this? But when you break it down into small steps, it becomes manageable. Maybe your first small win is lacing up your running shoes and going for a 10-minute jog. Maybe it's spending an hour researching your business idea. Maybe it's writing just one page of your book. Those are small wins. They may not seem like much on their own, but they're the steps that lead you to your goal. And here's the beauty of small wins. They build your belief in yourself. Every time you achieve one, you're sending a message to yourself that says, I can do this. You're proving to yourself that you're capable, that you're moving forward, that you're making progress. And that belief, it's one of the most powerful forces you have. Because when you believe in yourself, there's no limit to what you can achieve. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. You might be saying, but my small wins don't feel like they're adding up. They don't feel significant. And I get that. It's easy to dismiss the little things when you're not seeing immediate results. But let me remind you of something important. Progress isn't always visible in the moment. Sometimes the changes are happening beneath the surface. Sometimes it takes time for the results to show. But that doesn't mean you're not moving forward. It doesn't mean your small wins don't matter. Trust the process. Trust that every little step you take is bringing you closer to where you want to be. Another thing about small wins is that they create a positive cycle. When you achieve a small win, you feel good about yourself. You feel motivated. And that motivation makes it easier to take the next step, to aim for the next win. It's like lighting a spark. Once it's there, it spreads, it grows, and before you know it, you've created a fire of momentum that keeps you going. Let me give you another perspective. Think about the habits you have right now, the ones that serve you and the ones that don't. Every habit started as a small action. Maybe it was a choice you made once, then again, until it became automatic. That's how habits are formed. And small wins work the same way. They're the seeds of new habits, new routines, new ways of living. When you focus on winning small, you're not just achieving a goal, you're creating a new version of yourself. You're becoming the kind of person who shows up, who takes action, who gets things done. And let's not forget the emotional side of this. Small wins feel good. They give you a sense of accomplishment, of progress, of forward motion. And that feeling, it's incredibly motivating. It keeps you going on the days when the big picture feels too far away. It reminds you that you're on the right track, that you're doing the work, that you're making it happen. So how do you create more small wins in your life? Start by setting yourself up for success. Make your goals manageable. Don't overwhelm yourself with huge, unrealistic expectations. Instead, focus on what you can do today. What's one small step you can take right now? What's one action you can take that will move you forward? Even just a little. That's your small win. Celebrate it. Acknowledge it. Let it fuel you for the next step. And here's something else to keep in mind. Not every win has to be perfect. It's not about doing everything flawlessly. It's about showing up, doing your best, and making progress. So don't get caught up in perfectionism. Don't let the fear of making a mistake hold you back. Just take the step. Do the thing. Win small and win often. I want to leave you with this thought. Your life is made up of moments, small actions, small choices. And those moments, they're what create your future. So don't underestimate the power of small wins. Don't overlook their importance, because when you add them up, when you let them build on each other, they can lead to something truly remarkable. And that, my friends, is how you create a life you're proud of. One small win at a time. Number 5, discipline. It's the secret weapon, discipline. It's a word that makes some people uncomfortable. For many, it feels like a heavy weight, a burden, something that takes the joy out of life. When people hear the word discipline, they think of restriction, sacrifice, and hard rules. But what if I told you that discipline is the key to your freedom? That it's the secret weapon behind every success story you've ever admired? You see, discipline isn't about punishment or depriving yourself. It's about staying committed to what matters most. It's about keeping the promises you make to yourself. And there's nothing more powerful than that. Think about this for a moment. When you keep your word to yourself, you build trust. And trust is the foundation of confidence. When you consistently follow through on your commitments, even the small ones, you start to see yourself differently. You begin to believe in your ability to achieve your goals. Discipline, my friend, is like a muscle. You're not born with it fully formed. You build it, and the more you use it, the stronger it gets. It starts with small decisions. Waking up when your alarm goes off instead of hitting snooze. Choosing the healthier meal when the unhealthy option is calling your name. Spending an hour on your goals instead of scrolling through distractions. These small acts of discipline might not seem like much on their own, but they add up. They build momentum. They create habits. And over time, they transform your life. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but discipline is hard. It feels uncomfortable. And you're right, at first it is hard. But here's the truth. Anything worth having requires effort. Growth requires effort. And yes, discipline requires effort. But the discomfort of discipline is nothing compared to the pain of regret. Think about that. Discipline might mean doing something uncomfortable now, but regret stays with you. It lingers. It's the weight of knowing you could have done more, been more, achieved more, but you didn't. I once heard someone say, discipline weighs ounces, but regret weighs tons. And that stuck with me because it's so true. Discipline is the small price you pay to create the life you want. It's the daily choice to stay on track, to stay committed, to do what needs to be done even when you don't feel like it. And let's be honest, we're not always going to feel like it. Motivation comes and goes. It's fleeting. One day you're fired up, ready to conquer the world, and the next day you're struggling to get out of bed. But discipline stays. Discipline shows up, even when you're tired, even when it's inconvenient, even when no one is watching. That's what makes it so powerful. It's the anchor that keeps you grounded when life tries to pull you in a million directions. Now let's talk about the rewards of discipline. Because they're not just big, they're life-changing. When you practice discipline, you build self-respect. You start to see yourself as someone who follows through, someone who takes action, someone who can be relied on. And that kind of self-respect, it's priceless. It gives you the confidence to set bigger goals, to dream bigger dreams, to push beyond what you thought was possible. But discipline doesn't just benefit you, it benefits everyone around you. When you're disciplined, you become a better parent, a better partner, a better friend, a better leader. Why? Because discipline allows you to show up as your best self. It helps you prioritize what truly matters. It gives you the strength to be there for the people you care about, to lead by example, to inspire others to be their best selves too. I know discipline isn't always glamorous. It's not the kind of thing that gets a lot of attention. It's not flashy. It's not exciting, but it's effective. It works, and it's always worth it. Because discipline is what turns dreams into reality. It's what takes your goals off the page and brings them to life. It's what helps you stay the course when things get tough, when distractions arise, when the temptation to quit feels strong. Let's talk about those moments of temptation, because they're inevitable. There will be times when you want to give up, when you want to take the easy way out. And in those moments, discipline is your anchor. It's what keeps you grounded. It's what reminds you of why you started in the first place. So when you feel like quitting, ask yourself, why did I start? What's at stake if I give up? What do I stand to gain if I keep going? Those questions can reignite your fire. They can help you push through the tough moments and stay focused on your bigger vision. Another important thing about discipline is that it's not about being perfect. Let me say that again. Discipline is not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. It's about showing up day after day and doing the work, even if you stumble, even if you fall short. Discipline is about getting back up and trying again. It's about progress, not perfection. And when you embrace that mindset, discipline becomes so much more manageable. It becomes something you can practice, something you can grow into, something you can master. Now I want you to imagine something for a moment. Imagine your life 1 year from now. Imagine what it could look like if you committed to discipline starting today. Imagine the goals you could achieve, the habits you could build, the person you could become. It's an incredible vision, isn't it? And it's within your reach. But it starts here. It starts now. It starts with the decision to embrace discipline, to make it your ally, to let it guide you toward the life you truly want. Discipline is your secret weapon. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it. It's the tool that allows you to build a life of meaning, purpose, and fulfillment. So I challenge you today, take that first step. Start small if you need to, but show yourself what you're capable of. Prove to yourself that you can do it. Because when you practice discipline, you're not just changing your habits, you're changing your life. And there's nothing more powerful than that. Number 6, why most people quit too soon. Let me share something with you. One of the biggest reasons people don't succeed isn't because they lack talent or resources. It's not because their goals are impossible or because life dealt them a tough hand. No, the real reason most people fail is much simpler. They quit too soon. They give up right before the breakthrough, right before things start to change, right before they reach the point where all their hard work finally pays off. And that, my friend, is one of life's greatest tragedies. You see, most people start their journey with excitement. They're fired up, full of energy, ready to take on the world. They've set big goals, made bold plans, and for the first few days, maybe even the first few weeks, they're unstoppable. But then something happens. The excitement fades. The challenges appear. Progress slows down. And that's when the doubt creeps in. Maybe I'm not cut out for this. Maybe this isn't for me. Maybe it's just too hard. And instead of pushing through that discomfort, they quit. They walk away from their dreams, their goals, their potential, without realizing how close they were to success. Now, why does this happen? Why do people quit just when they're about to make a breakthrough? It's because they've misunderstood something critical about success. They think that if they're struggling, it means they're failing. But that's not true. Struggle is part of the process. Growth doesn't happen without effort. Challenges aren't a sign that you should stop. They're a sign that you're on the right path. The road to success isn't smooth. It's filled with obstacles, setbacks, and tough moments that test your resolve. But those moments, they're not there to stop you. They're there to strengthen you, to see how badly you want it, to shape you into the person capable of handling success. We live in a world obsessed with instant results. Everywhere you look, people are looking for shortcuts, hacks, and quick fixes. They want success overnight. They want the rewards without the work. But real, lasting success doesn't work like that. It's not a straight line. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon filled with ups and downs, detours and delays. And if you're expecting quick results, you'll be tempted to quit the moment things get tough. But here's what you need to remember. The toughest moments often come right before the breakthrough. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're digging for gold. You've got your tools, you've picked your spot, and you start digging. Day after day, you're out there putting in the effort, sweating, getting dirty. But after a while, you start to wonder if there's any gold down there at all. You've been digging for so long and you haven't seen anything, so you quit. You pack up your tools and walk away. But what if you were just one more swing away from hitting the gold? What if you were this close to the breakthrough, but you gave up before you got there? That's exactly what happens to most people in life. They quit just when success is within reach. I've seen it time and time again. People start with enthusiasm, but when progress feels slow, when they don't see immediate results, they throw in the towel. But the truth is, the results are coming. You just have to give it time. Think about a bamboo tree. When you plant the seed, you water it, you care for it, but for years you see nothing. No growth, no sign of progress. But under the surface, something amazing is happening. The roots are growing, spreading, creating a strong foundation. And then after 5 years of patience and persistence, that bamboo tree shoots up, growing 80 feet in just a few weeks. Now, did that growth happen overnight? No, it took years of unseen progress to make that sudden growth possible. That's how success works. The results might not be visible right away, but that doesn't mean they're not coming. You have to trust the process. So how do you keep going when you feel like quitting? How do you stay committed when the results aren't coming as quickly as you'd like? It starts with remembering why you started. Go back to the beginning. What was the dream? What was the goal? What inspired you to take that first step? Reconnect with that vision. Remind yourself of what's at stake if you give up. Think about the life you're trying to build, the person you're trying to become. When you're clear on your why, it becomes easier to stay committed, even when the journey gets tough. Another thing that helps is focusing on the progress you've made, no matter how small. Most people only look at how far they still have to go, and that can feel discouraging. But if you take a moment to look back at how far you've come, you'll realize you've already made progress. You've already overcome challenges. You've already taken steps in the right direction. Celebrate those wins. Acknowledge your efforts. Progress isn't always about big leaps. It's about small, consistent steps that add up over time. And here's something else to keep in mind. You're stronger than you think. When you feel like quitting, it's often because you've hit a point where you're being stretched beyond your comfort zone. But that's a good thing. That's where growth happens. You're not being pushed to your limit. You're discovering how much further you can go. Every time you push through a tough moment, you're building resilience. You're proving to yourself that you can handle more than you thought possible. I want you to think about your goals right now. Think about the dreams you've been working toward. Are you ready to give up on them? Or are you willing to dig deep, to stay the course, to see them through? Because I'll tell you this, most people quit too soon. But you don't have to be like most people. You can choose to keep going. You can choose to stay committed. You can choose to be patient and trust the process. Remember, the journey is just as important as the destination. Every challenge you face, every obstacle you overcome, every step you take, it's all part of your growth. It's all shaping you into the person you're meant to become. So don't quit. Don't give up on yourself. Don't let the struggle convince you that you're not making progress. You are. And one day when you look back, you'll be so glad you didn't stop. You'll be proud of how far you've come. And you'll know that every moment of persistence, every act of discipline, every decision to keep going, it was all worth it. Number 7, turning obstacles into opportunities. Life isn't always smooth sailing. It's full of twists and turns, unexpected challenges and setbacks that feel unfair. But here's the thing. It's not about avoiding obstacles. It's about how you face them. It's about how you respond when life throws a curveball your way. Most people see obstacles as roadblocks, as signs that they should stop. They hit a wall and think, well, I guess this isn't meant for me. They assume the goal is too hard or that they're not cut out for it. But that's where they're wrong. What they don't realize is that obstacles aren't there to stop you. They're there to teach you, to stretch you, to make you stronger. Obstacles are life's way of asking, are you ready for this? Are you willing to grow into the person who can handle this challenge? I've seen it time and time again. The people who succeed, the ones who rise to the top, they don't have fewer obstacles than anyone else. In fact, they often face even bigger challenges. But what sets them apart is their mindset. They don't see obstacles as dead ends. They see them as puzzles to solve, as tests to pass, as lessons to learn. They take the difficulty and ask themselves, what can I learn from this? How can I use this to grow? What opportunity is hidden inside this challenge? Now let me ask you this. When was the last time you faced a real challenge? Think about how you responded. Did you let it stop you? Or did you dig in, get resourceful, and find a way to move forward? Because how you handle obstacles says a lot about how far you're willing to go. It's easy to keep moving when the path is clear and smooth. But when the road gets tough, that's when your true character shows. Let me share a story. There was a young man who wanted to become a top athlete. He trained hard every single day, putting in hours at the gym, on the track, wherever he could. He dreamed of competing at the highest level. But one day he had an accident, an injury that doctors said could end his career before it even began. Now most people would have accepted that as the end. They would have packed up and said, well, I guess it wasn't meant to be, but not this guy. Instead of giving up, he focused on what he could still do. He worked on his mindset, his nutrition, his strategy. He found ways to train around his injury. And eventually, he came back stronger than before. Not only did he compete, but he went on to win. That's the power of turning obstacles into opportunities. It's about refusing to let circumstances define you. It's about getting creative, staying resilient, and finding a way forward, even when it seems impossible. And here's the thing. It's not just about the big, dramatic challenges. It's about the little ones, too. The ones you face every day. The argument that could ruin your mood for hours. The unexpected expense that throws off your budget. The criticism that makes you question yourself. These are opportunities, too. Opportunities to practice patience, to build resilience, to grow into someone stronger and wiser. You might be wondering, but how do I even start? How do I turn an obstacle into an opportunity when all I see is the problem in front of me? And my answer is this. Start by changing the way you think about it. Instead of saying, why is this happening to me? Ask yourself, what is this trying to teach me? Instead of focusing on what you've lost, focus on what you still have and what you can do with it. That shift in mindset is powerful. It takes you from being a victim of circumstance to being the creator of your own destiny. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're working on a project, something important to you, and everything seems to go wrong. Deadlines are missed, resources are limited, and nothing is going according to plan. Most people would throw up their hands in frustration and walk away. But if you see it as an opportunity, you'd say, all right, what can I do with what I've got? How can I adapt? How can I use this as a chance to grow my creativity, my problem-solving skills, and my ability to stay calm under pressure? That's how you grow. That's how you turn a frustrating experience into one that makes you better. Now, I'll be honest with you. This isn't easy. It takes effort. It takes practice. It takes a willingness to let go of excuses and take responsibility for your own growth. But I promise you, it's worth it. Because every time you overcome an obstacle, every time you find the opportunity within the challenge, you're building a foundation for future success. You're proving to yourself that you can handle whatever life throws at you. And that kind of confidence, that kind of resilience, it's priceless. Here's another thing I want you to remember. Sometimes the obstacle itself becomes your greatest advantage. Think about all the stories you've heard of. People who turned their setbacks into stepping stones. The entrepreneur who was fired from their job and used it as motivation to start their own business. The artist who faced rejection after rejection and used it to fuel their determination to succeed. The student who struggled in school but found innovative ways to learn and ended up excelling. These people didn't just overcome their obstacles. They used them to propel themselves forward. And you can do the same. The next time you face a challenge, don't run from it. Don't avoid it. Lean into it. Ask yourself, what is the opportunity here? How can I use this to grow, to learn, to get better? It might not be obvious at first, and that's okay. Sometimes the opportunity is buried deep, and it takes time to uncover. But it's there, if you're willing to look for it. I'll leave you with this thought. The obstacles in your life are not there to stop you. They're there to teach you. They're there to shape you. They're there to make you stronger, wiser, and more capable. So don't let them defeat you. Don't let them hold you back. Instead, use them as fuel. Use them as a reason to keep going. Use them as a reminder that you are capable of more than you think. You have the power to turn every obstacle into an opportunity. You just have to choose to see it that way. And when you do, you'll discover that the challenges you once feared are the very things that lead you to your greatest growth and success. Keep going, my friend. You're stronger than you know, and your best days are still ahead of you. Number 8, measure your progress, not perfection. One of the biggest mistakes people make on their journey to success is measuring themselves against perfection. They set these incredibly high standards, and when they don't hit them immediately, they feel like they failed. But let me tell you something. Success isn't about perfection. It's about progress. It's about becoming a little better today than you were yesterday. It's about moving forward, step by step, even if those steps are small. And the sooner you shift your focus from chasing perfection to tracking your progress, the sooner you'll find yourself growing in ways you never thought possible. We live in a world that glorifies the idea of being perfect. Everywhere you look, there are highlight reels on social media, in magazines, on TV, showing people's best moments. You see the perfect bodies, the perfect businesses, the perfect relationships. And it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking, why don't I have that? Why am I not there yet? But here's the truth. What you're seeing isn't the whole story. You're seeing the results, not the process. You're seeing the outcome, but you're not seeing the years of hard work, the setbacks, the failures, the late nights, and the early mornings it took to get there. Every overnight success you've ever heard of was built on years of consistent effort and steady progress. Let me ask you something. How often do you stop and recognize how far you've come? I mean, really take a moment to reflect on your journey. Most people don't. They're so focused on where they want to be that they forget to appreciate where they are. They overlook the small wins, the little steps forward, because they're too busy comparing themselves to some impossible standard of perfection. But if you don't take the time to measure your progress, you're robbing yourself of the motivation and confidence that comes from knowing you're moving in the right direction. Think about it this way. Imagine you're climbing a mountain. If you keep your eyes glued to the peak the whole time, you'll feel overwhelmed. The distance will seem impossible, and every step will feel like it's not enough. But if you pause every now and then to look back at how far you've climbed, you'll realize just how much progress you've made. You'll see the distance you've covered, the obstacles you've overcome, and you'll feel a renewed sense of energy to keep going. That's what measuring your progress does. It reminds you that you're on the right path, even if you haven't reached the top yet. Now let's be clear. This doesn't mean you shouldn't have big goals. You should aim high. You should dream big. But don't let the gap between where you are and where you want to be discourage you. Let it inspire you. Let it be a reminder that every step you take, no matter how small, is bringing you closer to that vision. Progress isn't always about giant leaps. Most of the time, it's about those small, consistent actions that build up over time. It's about doing the work even when it feels like nothing is happening, because you trust that those efforts are compounding beneath the surface. Let me give you an example. I once knew someone who wanted to get in shape. They set this big, ambitious goal of running a marathon. But after a few weeks of training, they felt discouraged. They weren't running as fast as they wanted to. They weren't seeing immediate changes in their body. They were so focused on the fact that they weren't marathon ready yet that they overlooked the fact that they had gone from barely being able to jog a mile to running 5 miles without stopping. They were making incredible progress, but because it didn't look like perfection, they felt like they were failing. The moment they shifted their focus from what they hadn't achieved to what they had achieved, everything changed. They realized how far they'd come, and that fueled their motivation to keep going. So how can you start measuring your progress? First, you need to set clear, realistic milestones. Break your big goals down into smaller, achievable steps. Instead of focusing on losing 50 pounds, focus on losing the first 5. Instead of trying to build $1 million business overnight, focus on landing your first client. These smaller goals give you tangible markers to track your progress. And every time you hit one of those milestones, celebrate it, acknowledge it. Let it be proof that you're moving in the right direction. Second, keep a record of your journey. Whether it's a journal, a progress chart, or even just notes on your phone, documenting your growth allows you to see the progress you're making. It gives you something to look back on when you're feeling stuck or discouraged. It's easy to forget how far you've come when you don't have a way to visualize it. But when you can see your progress laid out in front of you, it becomes impossible to ignore. And finally, be kind to yourself. Understand that progress isn't always linear. There will be setbacks. There will be days when you feel like you're moving backward instead of forward. That's normal. That's part of the journey. The key is to not let those moments define you. Instead, use them as learning opportunities. Ask yourself, what can I take from this? How can I use this to grow? Every setback is a setup for a comeback, if you approach it with the right mindset. Remember, the goal isn't to be perfect. The goal is to be better. Better than you were yesterday. Better than you were last week. Better than you were last year. Success isn't about flawless execution. It's about consistent improvement. It's about showing up, doing the work, and trusting that every step forward, no matter how small, is bringing you closer to your goals. So the next time you find yourself feeling discouraged, stop and take a look back. Reflect on how far you've come. Celebrate the progress you've made, and remind yourself that perfection isn't the destination. Growth is. You're not in competition with anyone else. You're on your own journey. And as long as you're moving forward, you're exactly where you need to be. Keep going, keep growing, and never forget to measure your progress, not your perfection. Number 9. Building a life you're proud of, brick by brick. When you think about building a life you're proud of, it can feel overwhelming. The vision of the life you want, your dreams, your goals, your ideal relationships, career, health. It all seems so big, so far out of reach, that you might wonder, where do I even begin? And that's where most people get stuck. They see the big picture, but the distance between where they are now and where they want to be feels impossible to bridge. But let me tell you something important. You don't build a great life overnight. You build it brick by brick. Every great life, every success story, every dream realized was built the same way. One small action at a time. It's never about one grand gesture or a single leap. It's about the daily decisions, the consistent actions, the small wins that stack up over time. And the beauty of this process, it gives you the control. You don't have to wait for the perfect opportunity or for someone to hand you the life you want. You can start laying those bricks today, right now, with what you have. Think about a bricklayer. They don't focus on building the entire wall in one day. They focus on laying each brick as perfectly as they can. They place it with care, align it properly, and make sure it's solid before moving on to the next one. And over time, those individual bricks come together to form something strong, something lasting. That's how you build your life. You focus on what you can do today, this hour, this moment, and you do it well. Then you do it again tomorrow, and the next day, and the day after that. And before you know it, those small efforts will add up to something remarkable. But here's the catch. Most people don't want to hear this. Most people want quick results. They want the shortcut, the magic bullet, the overnight success. But life doesn't work that way. Sustainable success doesn't happen in a flash. It's a slow, steady process. It's about patience, persistence, and commitment. It's about showing up every day, even when you don't feel like it, even when progress feels slow, even when it seems like nothing is happening. Because every time you show up, you're laying another brick. And over time, those bricks create a foundation that's unshakable. Let me give you an example. I once knew a man who wanted to start his own business. He had this big dream of financial freedom and doing work that he was passionate about. But when he looked at the gap between where he was, working a 9-to-5 job, barely making ends meet, and where he wanted to be, it felt impossible. He almost didn't start. But then he realized he didn't have to build the entire business in one day. He just had to take the first step. So he started small. He saved a little money each month. He spent his evenings learning about his industry. He networked with people who could help him grow. Brick by brick, he built that business. It wasn't overnight. It wasn't easy. But a few years later, he was running a successful company, living the life he had once thought was out of reach. And it all started with that first brick. The key is to start where you are with what you have. Don't wait for the perfect conditions. Don't wait until you feel ready. Because the truth is, you'll never feel completely ready, and the conditions will never be perfect. But that doesn't matter. What matters is that you start. Maybe today starting looks like setting a goal for yourself. Maybe it's taking the first step towards something you've been putting off. Maybe it's something as simple as waking up a little earlier, or spending an hour working on a skill you want to improve. Whatever it is, start small, and start now. One of the biggest mistakes people make is thinking they have to do it all at once. They think they need to make massive changes overnight, and when they can't sustain it, they get discouraged and give up. But life isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. And the most sustainable progress happens slowly, steadily, and consistently. It's not about doing everything perfectly. It's about doing something consistently. Small efforts, repeated over time, lead to big results. That's how you build momentum. And once you have momentum, everything gets easier. You start to feel confident, capable, and in control. You start to see the progress you're making, and that motivates you to keep going. But let's be honest, there will be challenges along the way. There will be days when you feel like it's not worth it, when you wonder if you're even making a difference. And that's when you need to remind yourself why you started in the first place. What kind of life do you want to build? What kind of person do you want to become? Hold on to that vision, because it will give you the strength to keep going when things get tough. And remember, setbacks are part of the process. They don't mean you failed. They mean you're learning. Every mistake, every obstacle, every detour is an opportunity to grow stronger and wiser. The people who succeed aren't the ones who never face challenges. They're the ones who keep going in spite of them. They understand that setbacks aren't the end of the road. They're just part of the journey. As you build your life, brick by brick, don't forget to enjoy the process. Too often we get so focused on the destination that we forget to appreciate the journey. But the journey is where the magic happens. It's where you learn, where you grow, where you discover what you're capable of. So take a moment to celebrate your progress. Celebrate the small wins, the milestones, the effort you've put in, because those moments matter. They're proof that you're moving in the right direction. And while you're at it, don't be afraid to dream big. Don't be afraid to imagine a life that excites you, that challenges you, that fills you with purpose. Because here's the thing. You are capable of more than you think. You have potential inside you that you haven't even begun to tap into. But that potential will only be realized if you're willing to put in the work. It will only be realized if you're willing to show up every day and lay those bricks, one by one. Let me share something with you. A life you're proud of isn't just about achieving goals or checking things off a list. It's about the kind of person you become along the way. It's about the habits you build, the character you develop, the values you live by. It's about creating a life that reflects who you truly are, a life that aligns with your purpose and your passions. And that kind of life isn't built overnight. It's built through patience, perseverance, and a commitment to growth. So today I want to challenge you to take a step forward. It doesn't have to be a big step. It can be as small as making a decision, setting an intention, or taking action on something you've been procrastinating on. Whatever it is, do it with purpose. Lay that brick as perfectly as you can, and then move on to the next one. Keep building, keep growing, and keep moving forward. Because every step you take, every brick you lay brings you closer to the life you've always dreamed of. And remember this, the life you're building is your masterpiece. It's your legacy. So make it something you're proud of. Make it something that inspires you and others. Because at the end of the day, you get to decide what kind of life you want to create. And the best part, you don't have to do it all at once. You just have to start brick by brick, step by step, day by day. That's how you build a life that truly matters. That's how you transform your dreams into reality. Keep going. You've got this. Number 10. Celebrate the journey, not just the goal. When you set out to achieve something, whether it's a personal goal, a professional milestone, or a dream you've held onto for years, it's easy to get fixated on the finish line. You imagine the moment you finally cross that threshold, and you think, that's when I'll feel successful. That's when I'll be happy. But let me tell you something. If you're only focused on the destination, you're missing out on the most valuable part of the experience, the journey itself. Success isn't just about reaching the goal. It's about who you become along the way. And if you don't take the time to celebrate the journey, you're robbing yourself of the true joy, growth, and fulfillment that comes from the process. We live in a world that's obsessed with results. Everywhere you look, people are showcasing their achievements, the new job, the dream house, the perfect relationship. And it's easy to get caught up in that. It's easy to think that success is all about the big moments, the grand accomplishments, the trophies on the shelf. But what you don't see is the work behind those results. The early mornings, the late nights, the failures, the setbacks, the small wins that pave the way for the big ones. And if you don't learn to celebrate those moments, you'll find yourself constantly chasing the next goal, never truly satisfied, never truly fulfilled. Let me ask you something. Have you ever reached a goal you worked hard for, only to feel a little underwhelmed when you got there? Maybe you thought, is this it? Is this what I was working so hard for? That feeling comes from focusing so much on the outcome that you forget to appreciate the journey. The truth is, the goal itself is just a moment in time. It's the process of getting there that shapes you, that teaches you, that transforms you into the person capable of achieving it. And if you don't take the time to recognize and celebrate that process, you're missing out on the most rewarding part of the experience. Think about it like climbing a mountain. Reaching the summit is exciting, no doubt about it. But the summit is just one small part of the adventure. The real growth happens on the way up. The challenges you overcome, the lessons you learn, the strength and resilience you build with every step. And if you're so focused on the top that you don't look around and appreciate the view along the way, you're missing the best part of the climb. So how do you celebrate the journey? It starts with recognizing the small wins. Every step forward, no matter how small, is worth acknowledging. Maybe you made progress on a project. Maybe you stuck to a new habit for a week. Maybe you overcame a challenge you didn't think you could handle. These might seem like minor achievements, but they're the building blocks of success. They're proof that you're moving in the right direction. And when you take the time to celebrate them, you build momentum. You fuel your motivation to keep going. Let me give you an example. I once knew a woman who set a goal to run a marathon. Now, she wasn't a runner when she started. In fact, she could barely jog a mile without feeling exhausted. But instead of focusing solely on the marathon, she celebrated every small milestone along the way. The first time she ran a mile without stopping, she celebrated. The first time she ran 5 miles, she celebrated. Every time she hit a new distance, no matter how small, she acknowledged her progress. And by the time she crossed the finish line, the marathon wasn't just about the race. It was about the journey that got her there. Every step, every mile, every challenge had shaped her into the person who could achieve that goal. And here's the beautiful thing. When you celebrate the journey, you don't just feel good in the moment, you create a positive feedback loop. Recognizing your progress reinforces the behaviors that got you there. It tells your mind, this is working. Let's keep going. And that mindset carries over into every area of your life. It helps you stay consistent. It helps you push through challenges. It helps you keep going when the path gets tough. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't aim for big goals. You should have ambitious dreams. You should push yourself to achieve great things. But don't let those goals blind you to the progress you're making along the way. Don't fall into the trap of thinking that success only happens when you reach the finish line. Success is in the process. It's in the daily effort, the consistent action, the lessons learned, and the person you become as a result. Another important part of celebrating the journey is gratitude. Take time to appreciate not just your progress, but the people, experiences, and opportunities that have supported you along the way. Gratitude keeps you grounded. It helps you stay connected to what really matters. It shifts your focus from what you haven't achieved to what you have achieved. And when you approach your journey with gratitude, you'll find joy in places you never expected. Let me share one more thing with you. The journey isn't always going to be easy. There will be setbacks. There will be moments of doubt. There will be times when you feel like giving up. But those moments, they're part of the process too. They're the moments that teach you resilience, perseverance, and strength. And when you come out the other side, you'll look back and realize that those challenges were just as important as the victories. In fact, they are the victories. Because every time you push through, every time you keep going when it would have been easier to quit, you're building the kind of character that leads to lasting success. So today, I challenge you to shift your perspective. Don't wait until you've reached the finish line to feel successful. Don't put your happiness on hold until you've achieved that big goal. Start celebrating the journey now. Acknowledge your progress. Appreciate the lessons. Embrace the challenges. Because success isn't a destination, it's a journey. And when you learn to find joy in the process, you'll realize that the journey itself is the reward. Take a moment today to reflect on how far you've come. Celebrate your efforts, your growth, your resilience. And remember, the life you're building isn't just about the goals you achieve. It's about the person you become along the way. Celebrate the journey, and you'll find that success is closer than you think. As we come to the end of this journey, let's take a moment to reflect on the powerful lessons we've uncovered. We started with the simple yet transformative idea that improving just 1% every day can create extraordinary results over time. It's not about making huge leaps overnight. It's about small, consistent actions that compound, building momentum and reshaping your life step by step. We learned the importance of starting small but thinking big. You don't need to conquer the entire mountain in a single day. You just need to take that first step. And once you do, you'll realize that progress isn't about perfection, it's about persistence. It's about choosing to get a little better, day by day, even when it feels like nothing is changing. Because trust me, it is. We also explored the role of discipline, the quiet force that drives success. Discipline isn't about restriction, it's about staying committed to what matters, even when motivation fades. It's the key to turning dreams into reality, and the foundation that holds your efforts together when times get tough. And let's not forget the power of small wins. Every little victory, no matter how insignificant it might seem, creates a ripple effect. These wins build confidence, reinforce positive habits, and fuel your motivation to keep going. When you celebrate your progress, not just the big milestones, but the small steps along the way, you stay engaged, energized, and inspired. But perhaps the most important lesson is this: life isn't just about the goals you achieve, it's about the journey you take to get there. The obstacles you face aren't roadblocks, they're opportunities for growth. The setbacks aren't failures, they're lessons in resilience, and the person you become through this process. That's the true reward. So here's my challenge to you. Don't wait. Don't wait for the perfect moment to start. Don't wait until you feel ready. The perfect time is now. Start with one small action today. Focus on getting just 1% better. And when tomorrow comes, do it again. Keep building, keep growing, and keep pushing forward. Because you have everything you need within you to transform your life. The journey won't always be easy, but it will be worth it. So take that first step, embrace the process, and watch as your life unfolds in ways you never imagined possible. You've got this.